There's a quiet shift that happens when you stop chasing performance and start building control over your process instead. Because now, every video is not a gamble. It's a calculated move. You're no longer hoping something works. You're designing why it should. And that difference, small as it sounds, changes everything. Because control replaces confusion. And then comes a phase where things feel almost controlled. Not perfect, not guaranteed, but guided. Because now, you're no longer surprised by outcomes the way you used to be. You can sense when a video will struggle and when it has potential. Not with certainty, but with direction. And that direction gives you an edge most never reach. At this level, you stop obsessing over single uploads because you understand one video doesn't define your trajectory anymore. It's the pattern across multiple uploads that matters. The consistency of signals, not isolated spikes, and that mindset protects you from emotional decisions. It keeps you steady. You begin reviewing your last 5 or 10 videos as a group, looking for trends instead of exceptions. What's improving? What's stuck? What's declining? Because real insight lives in repetition, not in one viral hit or one failure, but in what keeps happening again and again. And this is where clarity sharpens even more. You start identifying your baseline performance, the level your content consistently reaches, and instead of chasing randomness, you focus on raising that baseline. Because that's where real growth happens. A higher baseline means every video performs better on average. Even the weaker ones don't fall too low. And the stronger ones push even further. This creates stability. And stability creates momentum. Momentum that compounds quietly, but powerfully. Then comes optimization at a deeper level. Not just fixing mistakes, but enhancing strengths. You double down on what already works, refining your best performing formats, improving your strongest hooks, sharpening your most engaging segments. Because growth isn't only about fixing weaknesses, it's about amplifying advantages. And analytics shows you exactly where those advantages are. If you're paying attention, if you're willing to study instead of assume, and act instead of hesitate. At the same time, you become more selective. Not every idea deserves execution. Not every trend deserves your attention. Because now you think long-term. You protect your channel's direction, not just its short-term performance. And that discipline starts shaping your identity. Your content becomes more recognizable, more focused, more aligned with a clear purpose. And audiences respond to that clarity. Because clarity builds trust. You're no longer experimenting blindly. You're testing with intention. Every change has a reason. Every adjustment has a hypothesis. And every result gives you feedback that you actually use. And this creates a loop. Create, analyze, adjust, improve, again and again, until it becomes automatic, until growth becomes a system, not a surprise. But even in this system, uncertainty remains. Because no process removes risk completely. And that's important, because it keeps you sharp, keeps you aware, keeps you evolving. You stop fearing underperformance because you know how to respond to it. You know where to look, what to fix, what to test next. And that removes hesitation. At this point, confidence feels different, not loud, not emotional, but stable, built on evidence, built on experience, built on repeated improvement. And that kind of confidence doesn't break easily, because now, even if something fails, it doesn't stop you. It informs you, guides you, refines you, and pushes you forward. And slowly, your growth becomes less visible in moments, but more powerful over time. Less explosive, more consistent, less random, more structured. And that structure is what sustains success. Not just achieves it, because anyone can get views once, but not everyone can repeat it. Not everyone can build a system that works again and again. And that's where you are now. Not chasing growth, but generating it. And the creator who once refreshed in anxiety is now reviewing in control. Not asking why me, but asking what's next. And that question is what keeps you moving forward. At this stage, you begin noticing patterns before they fully form. A thumbnail feels weak before the CTR even confirms it. An intro feels slow before retention shows the drop. This is no longer guesswork, it's trained instinct, built from hours of observing, failing, adjusting. And slowly, your decisions become faster, sharper. But with awareness comes pressure. Because now you know when something isn't good enough. You can't ignore weak ideas the way you used to. You see flaws early, and that forces higher standards. And higher standards slow you down at first. But they also raise your ceiling. You begin rejecting average ideas before they turn into videos. Not because they're bad, but because they won't compete. And this is where discipline becomes your biggest advantage. Because saying no to weak content protects your growth. Even if it delays uploads, even if it feels uncomfortable. Then comes the deeper realization. Clarity beats complexity. The videos that perform best are often the simplest to understand. Not easy to create, but easy to grasp instantly. Because confusion kills clicks faster than anything else. If people don't get it in 1 second, they scroll. And that moment decides everything. So your ideas become clearer. Your titles become sharper. Your thumbnails more focused. No unnecessary elements. No mixed signals. Just one strong message. Delivered instantly. And your CTR begins to reflect that clarity. At the same time, your storytelling becomes tighter. You remove anything that doesn't serve the viewer. Every second earns its place. Every transition has purpose. Because now you understand, attention is borrowed. And you have to earn it. Continuously. You start respecting the viewer's time more deeply. Not just holding attention, but valuing it. And that mindset changes your entire tone. Less filler, more intention, less talking at the audience, more speaking to them. And that connection strengthens retention. Then something subtle begins to happen. Your videos start feeling smoother, not because they're perfect, but because they're intentional. There's less friction, less confusion, more flow from start to finish. And flow is powerful, because when a video flows, people don't think about leaving, they just keep watching. And that natural watch behavior sends strong signals, signals that push your content further, without force, without hacks. But even now, the journey isn't finished, because growth creates new expectations. What works today may not work tomorrow. And staying ahead requires constant awareness, not fear, but readiness, a willingness to evolve again. So you keep observing, keep refining, keep questioning your own work, not from doubt, but from intent to improve. Because now, improvement is your default state, not something you chase occasionally. And in this phase, something powerful locks in. You stop needing validation from every video, because you trust your process, you trust your analysis, you trust your ability to adapt, and that trust gives you stability. Because while others ride emotional highs and lows, you stay grounded in data and direction, not controlled by outcomes, but guided by them. And that consistency becomes your real advantage, more than talent, more than luck. And somewhere in this steady progression, you realize you've changed, not just as a creator, but as a thinker, more aware, more intentional, more focused than ever before. Because this was never just about YouTube. It was about understanding attention, understanding behavior, understanding how people choose what matters. And once you learn that, you're no longer just creating content, you're shaping it.